by Corporate Communications Officer at the Ministry. And I'm so happy to see so much of you all at this time. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And as indicated, some of you all had exams and are prepping for exams. I see we have over 25 persons logged on. I do know that we have persons from Tobago who would have signed up. Johanna, is AJ Gordon in as well? AJ isn't in. So welcome those child rights ambassadors from Tobago as well. You would notice that we have Miss Nicole Paul and Miss Letitia Street, who are providing sign language services for our child rights ambassadors who are unable to hear. Elijah, can you mute your mic, please, darling? All right. Great. Yeah, so we have a very interactive session ahead of us, and I promise you all that it's going to be fun, right? Also joining us, as we would have acknowledged before, I'd like to welcome Ms. Kiva Williams, who is the chair, and we have some other members of the ministry's National Steering Committee for the Prevention and Elimination of Child Labor. Yeah, Miss Shannon Stanley, and Mr. Bertrand Moses, who you all are very familiar with, are also joining us, and they actually initiated this session. Can we give them a thumbs up or a clap for initiating this lovely session, because they saw the need for you all, child rights ambassadors, to learn more about child labor, and here we are today. Yeah, so welcome.
You're so kind, Jody. Thank you.
I see Mr. Moses shaking his head as well.
And thanks to Ms. Kava Williams.
Yes, we also have our labor inspectors headed by Mr. Farouk Mohammed. A welcome to all our labor inspectors, other members of the National Steering Committee, who you all will find out more about in Ms. Paula Achaiba's presentation. Yes, so to start off our session, before we get into our activities and our fun session, I would just like to pass the mic over to Miss Kiva Williams, who can't wait to address you all. She is like our principal. Miss Williams actually coordinates these types of activities. She leads the charge in coordination of these activities, and more importantly, she is coordinating the development of a child policy to prevent and eliminate child labor in Trinidad and Tobago. You all wouldn't say that's a very big task, yeah? Yes? So I'm handing over the mic now to Miss Williams, who will just briefly address you all briefly.
Thank you, Jody, and good afternoon all, and welcome to this virtual training session, which aims to empower you, the child rights ambassadors, in the fight against child labor here in Trinidad and Tobago. I'll just give you a little brief of what the ILO said about child labor, and they did indicate that it remains a problem in the world today. The latest global estimates indicate that 160 million children, that is 63 million girls and 97 million boys, were in child labor globally at the beginning of 2020, which accounts for almost 1 in 10 of all children worldwide, and that's a high number. 79 million children, nearly half of all those in child labor, were in hazardous work that directly endangers their health, safety, and moral development. And we all know that the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic is a threat which may involve children going out to work to support their families. And we know that is not what we want you all to do. We want to help us advocate against that. As such, your role as an advocate against child labor will support the ministry's efforts to prevent and eliminate child labor here in Trinidad and Tobago. So today, the labor inspectors of the ministry, led by Mr. Farouk Mohammed, will take you through an interactive session to ensure that you have a full appreciation of what is child labor so that you can spot it and stop it. I thank you all for your participation today. I'm hoping that we have an interactive session and that you learn something by the end of this session. Handing back over to you, Jody.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Much appreciated. All right, so with that said, we are about to jump in our first activity, right, which would introduce you to the topic of child labor. Yeah, and what I can say recently on June 12th, can anybody tell me what happened on June 12th? Anybody? Okay, on
Labor
June
Day.
12th, someone is saying, Elijah, that's you?
Yes.
Yes, Elijah, you were saying something?
I said Labor Day.
Okay, no, Labor Day was about a week after June 12th, which is on the 19th. June 12th, the world actually commemorated World Day Against Child Labor. So there is a day dedicated to raising awareness on what child labor is. And our ministry, Ministry of Labor, would have hosted a week of activities, and we continue to share information on child labor via sessions like these. But on the World Day Against Child Labor, we would have aired a puppet show. Did anybody see our puppet show on child labor? No? It was on television. It was also streaming on social media, on our ministry social media pages. So after this session, I would like for you all to join our social media pages so that you all can see all that we have to share apart from what you all will learn today, right? So just to introduce you to the topic of child labor, we're going to do a little warm-up activity. Let's get started and thinking about child labor, and this is where I would play the first part of the puppet show and ask you all a couple questions. So we're going to do a short quiz right after. So let's see who can pay attention the most and able to answer this warm-up activity. So let me just get the video up and running, and you all will let me know if you all are seeing and hearing clearly. Are you all seeing?
No, miss.
No, miss.
You all are seeing now?
Yes.
Yes, miss.
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
So
miss.
let's get started. Come on, get your thinking caps on and let's listen attentively so that we can answer questions after the puppet show, yeah?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, presenting the Ministry of Labor's puppet show on child labor.
Hi, Priya. What's up? What you did this weekend?
Oh, hi, Sheldon. I'm good. I went down by my cousin Sunday again in Faizabad. It was real good.
Faizabad?
Yeah,
Where's that?
that's way down south.
Okay.
You know, past the creek and stuff?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what did you do?
I went to the beach, but it wasn't
Oh,
fun at all. You wouldn't believe what I saw.
turtle! Yeah, were they laying eggs?
No, Priya. It
No?
wasn't so exciting at all.
Oh,
I saw a boy looking like about 7 years old
Uh-huh.
selling mangoes on the beach.
well,
And he looked real sad.
well, maybe he was helping his mom. You know, some people teach their children to manage money from a very young age.
No, Priya, he was
Yeah.
all alone. He looked
Oh.
real tired. It was hot. And he looked like he was out there whole day. He didn't look happy to sell those mangoes at all. He looked like he wanted to play football with Joshua and I.
Oh my. You know, the other day, my mom and Mr. Jones were talking,
Mm-hmm.
and she was telling him that her mom didn't get to finish school or even go to secondary school.
Okay.
Yeah, she had to help her dad plant garden
Wow.
and work and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he was telling my mom that it was something called child labor.
Child labor?
Yeah, that's it.
You mean something happened when she was born?
No, Sheldon.
Okay.
You see how we just get to go and ride our bikes,
Mm-hmm.
play in the park?
Yeah.
You went to the beach, I went to my cousin's.
Uh-huh.
Those children have to work and help their parents pay for
Wow.
food and clothes.
Wow. So
Mhm.
you have no childhood at all.
I know.
I cannot imagine working like a big person.
Yeah.
Wow. Wait, who is this Mr. Jones again?
You know, that guy that comes around and talks to our parents with the blue car.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
him and the other inspectors,
Uh-huh.
they go around to make sure children are going to school instead of working.
Oh.
Yeah, and the person who hires the children, they could get locked up.
Wow. I
Yeah.
never knew that. Wait, Shane.
Huh?
Oh, gosh. He's in child labor.
Shane?
Yeah.
Shane from the chess club?
Yeah.
How do you know?
Last week, Monday, I left school early. I was with Daddy. And we were passing by the grocery down the road.
Yeah.
And I saw Shane sweeping outside the grocery in his home clothes.
And what did you say? Did you talk to him?
Well, I told Dad, and Dad told me that Shane's parents are going through a hard time these days.
Oh, no.
His dad lost his job due to COVID. And it seems as though Shane will be missing a lot of school. He has to work.
Oh, no.
Wow. I felt sorry, but I didn't know about child labor. I thought it was okay for him to help out, especially since it was just for a little while.
Oh, Sheldon, Shane's parents are going to get in big trouble.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, Mr. Jones told my mom the person hiring the child could get locked up.
Wow.
Especially if it's a child under 16. And they have to pay plenty money in the court if someone reports it. You know, like when we do bad things and our parents punish us.
Wow. Oh, my gosh. Okay, I'm going to call Shane now.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Okay, talk to you. Bye. Shane, you can talk now?
Just a little, so my boss doesn't catch me.
Shane, you know Mr. Jones, the labor inspector?
I don't know.
Yes, you know him, the guy who's driving the blue car.
Yeah.
He said that your mom could get into a lot of trouble for making you work in the grocery because you are too young.
No
You have
way.
to be 16 and over to work.
That can't be right. I have to work, Sheldon. My mom can't afford to pay all these bills on her own. And it's just until my dad gets his job back. I'm just helping out.
Shane, what you're doing is against the law. Shane, I know you're trying to help out, but there must be another way to help your family. This can't be happening. You're missing out on everything. Your education, your childhood. And besides, we're losing on the chess club.
Oh.
You need to come back.
Sheldon, my mom will be so upset with me. She'll think I'm trying to get her in trouble.
No, Shane. We are only trying to work this out so it doesn't get worse than it already is.
I guess you're right, Sheldon. Thanks for looking out for me.
Okay, talk to you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello.
All right. So that was the introduction to child labor via the Ministry of Labor's puppet show. Now, who can tell me how you all found the puppet show was before I get into the quiz?
I thought it was very creative.
Yes. Who's saying that? Identify yourself when you talk, as we can see who's speaking.
Sorry, this is Johanna.
Johanna?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Thanks, Johanna. You found it was very creative. Anybody else? I see Sydney is typing on the chat saying it's informative. Yes, Kiara also said it's informative.
I think that the format of
Rebecca said, I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Rebecca. It was really good. Clifford said it was really good. All right, so there were two children in this puppet show who were working, right? Can you all tell me which two rights these two children were deprived of? You can identify the two scenarios first, and then tell me which two rights they were deprived of. You all can use the raise hand tool so I can see who would like to answer the question first. Okay, I'm seeing Elijah's hand is up. Elijah, go ahead.
Right to an education.
Right. And who was deprived of their right to an education?
Sheldon. I mean,
Shane.
The boy who was working in the grocery store.
And what about the little boy who was on the beach? The little boy
Yes.
who was on the beach, he also did not get to go to school because he was selling on the beach. Remember that?
Right, miss.
Yeah. Thanks, Elijah. You're correct, though. What else? What other right the two children did not enjoy? So Elijah would have identified the right of education, and all children have a right on education. One other thing. One other right. What you like to do when you're not in school?
The right to play.
Yes, the right to play. Who said the right to play?
Johanna.
Johanna, yes, that is correct, Johanna. So the right to play and the right to have a childhood, to socialize, go line with your friends, go to the mall, go to the movies, go to the beach, play football. So those are two basic rights that those children did not enjoy because they were working. Yeah? Can you all imagine not being able to go to school or not to be able to align with your friends, even if it's Zoom or Teams for now because you can't see your friends in person? How does that make you all feel? Let me see whose hand is up. I'm seeing Samir's hand up. Samir, how does that make you feel?
No, I'm sorry, I put up my hand and I forgot to put it down after earlier.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm also seeing Kara's hand is up.
This, it'll make you feel alone and depressed. I think that the whole point of human interaction is to have a social life and it's a basic skill.
Right, correct. And I think all of you will share Kira's sentiment, right? Nobody wants to work when they're so young. Come on, we have to have fun. Kids are meant to have fun and, have a childhood. That's what a childhood is about, going to school and having fun. All right, so now that we have introduced you all to the topic of child labor, I would hand you all over to Miss Paula Achaiba, who is a labor inspector. Now, you all would have heard in the puppet show that the labor inspectors are the ones who come drive around in blue cars. They don't all drive in blue cars, right? Paula, you don't have a blue car, right?
No, I have a red car.
Right, so Paula has a red car, but our labor inspectors would be the ones on the ground to ensure that children like yourselves below age 16 aren't working. Yeah, so now you all will learn a bit more about child labor from Miss Achaiba's presentation. Over to you.
Thank you, Jody. And welcome again to all our child rights ambassadors, to all the colleagues, the National Steering Committee, the Deputy PS, my fellow labor inspectors, those who may drive blue cars as well. Welcome once again to everyone to our child rights ambassadors training workshop. All right, so what I'm going to do is share the screen, and I just want you all to confirm that you would be able to see the presentation. Right, so can you all confirm what you're seeing? Are you all seeing anything?
No, I'm seeing Jody's face on the.
Seeing Jody's face.
So basically the Microsoft Teams screen.
Okay, so we're not seeing the PowerPoint presentation?
Not yet. At least I'm not. I don't know if somebody else is.
All right, I'm not sure who is.
No, Paula, we're not seeing it. Yeah.
There's a delay. All right, so there's a possibility that there is a delay with the technology. So let me stop sharing and do it over again, right?
Okay, sure.
Yes, we're seeing it.
I see it now, miss.
Okay, so you're seeing it? Everybody seeing the presentation?
Yes, miss.
Yes, we are.
Yes, miss.
All right. So thanks again to Jody for that bit of an interactive session. And I hope that I will not bore you all for the rest of this presentation. So we try to keep it as interactive as it was before. All right. So our first graphic is a typical classroom in Trinidad and Tobago. So a whole mix-up of children. So we have different races, different sizes, different boys, girls, all together in a classroom. So our first question is, who is considered a child? So tell me, what do you all think? Who is considered as a child? All right, so I see Kira's hand was up.
Anybody honestly under 18?
Under 18, all right. Very good, Kira. Anybody else? Or do you all share that same sentiment?
Share the same sentiment.
Correct. Everybody shares the same sentiment, and you all are correct. So according to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, they define a child as everyone who is under the age of 18. Right? Boy, girl, under the age of 18, whether they are national of this country, whether they're non-nationals, once you're under 18, you're considered as a child. So we move on. And this is a copy of Jody's question coming out from the puppet show. What are the rights of children? So you all gave 2 basic rights, which was actually very accurate, very correct. Can anybody tell me any others that you're aware of?
The right to be heard, the right to leisure.
Right, very good. The right to be heard, the right to leisure. Go ahead, Elijah.
Right to proper nutrition.
Perfect, proper nutrition. Clifford?
Right to medical, medical treatment and yeah.
Proper health care, great. Nazir? Nazir Graham?
Hi, I'm not Nazir. I'm using my brother's thing. My name is Zion. And children have the rights to food, shelter, and including wealthy necessities.
Perfect. So basically, I can have you all come and do this presentation for me because you've covered basically everything. So now there are many more rights that children have, and these are just the basics, just a few of the basics, in fact. As I mentioned, there are many more rights. So yes, children are entitled to a right to proper education, the right to go to school, the right to learn. Children are also entitled to the right to fresh food and water. And I'm not sure who said it, but they said nutritious food. Yes, nutritious food, fresh food, and of course, clean water. You're also entitled to the right to be in a safe environment. So therefore, no harm, no danger is supposed to come to you. That's your right in the environment that you're in, any environment that you're in. Someone mentioned medical care. So yes, you have a right to proper health care. You have a right to
Paula, excuse, Paula.
Yes.
Just
Jody?
to slow the pace a bit because we have Miss Letitia who is signing. So for the purpose of Mandy and Mattia who is on, yeah, if you can talk just a little slower.
I'm going too fast.
Yeah. Thanks.
So we were talking about safe, right? Safe and decent shelter, the right to safe and decent shelter. And this was a right that was brought out from the puppet show, the right to play, the right to recreation, the right to socialization. So to say yes to play and to say no to labor. No to labor. All right, so we're moving on. So can anybody tell me, coming out again from all that we've discussed and the puppet show, in your own words, what do you think child labor is? Just your own words. And remember, there are no wrong answers.
Child labor is the forceful approach of putting a child at risk of working and not having enough leisure time and giving them less of an advantage of school and taking away their access of education.
All right. Perfect. Thank you, Alex. Clifford, you want to tell us what you think child labor is?
You hear me? Okay, yeah. Subjecting children to intense and strenuous labor without their consent and depriving them of their basic rights, such as food, water, shelter, all the works.
Good. All right, and if you see me pause a little bit, it's just that I'm making sure that the sign language interpreters have covered what your answers are. Okay, Ronia, you want to tell us what you think? Ronia Swan?
In my words, I think child labor is when a child is being forced to work and being deprived of an education.
Perfect. Perfect. And all of you are accurate.
Yeah, but you up?
Are you all hearing me?
Yes.
Now hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we had a little dip in electricity here, so I believe Miss Achaiba is frozen a bit. So we're just gonna give her two minutes to log back on. How you all think the presentation is going thus far?
It's going good.
Good.
Yeah?
Great.
Great.
Informative.
And after Ms. Achaiba's presentation, we actually have a little trivia, and it's going to be a graphic called Spot the Child Labor Activity, where she would present different scenarios of children either in child labor or not in child labor, and you all will be able to tell us which scenarios you all believe are child labor. And I believe Paula is back.
Yes, we had a little dip in our internet connection. So thank you for your patience. As Jody mentioned, you know, technology tends to give trouble just when we need it to work the most. Right. So child labor essentially is when you cannot go to school, when you can't get the opportunity to play with your friends, when you can't go to the beach, can't go to the movies, you can't ride your bike, you can't skateboard or rollerblade, you can't do anything fun because, as was mentioned, you are forced to work.
Paul, you can share, you're gonna share your screen again, right?
Just 1 second. Okay, great. So is everybody seeing the presentation again?
Yes, miss.
Not seeing Letitia pinned to do the signing. Letitia, are you there?
Hello, this is Nicole.
Hi.
You hear me?
Hi, Miss Paul. Yes, hearing you.
That's good. You asked whether I was what?
Pinned.
I'm hearing and I'm signing. You're not seeing me at all?
Okay. I'm not seeing, no, I'm not seeing you signing now on the screen next to the presentation. Okay, I'm seeing you here.
Oh, okay, fine.
Is everyone seeing Miss Nicole Paul signing?
Yes, on the right-hand corner of the screen, yes.
We will need her to be pinned.
Oh, yes, I see her now.
Okay, she's back up. All right, great.
In the in front of the screen.
I apologize again. Our technical difficulties, it would have taken off the pin at the time that it went down.
All right, but we're back up. So let's get going.
So we continue. So, according to the International Labour Organization, the ILO, child labor is defined as work that deprives children of their education or their childhood. So it refers to work that is mentally, physically, socially, or morally dangerous and is harmful to children and interferes with their schooling by depriving them of the opportunity to attend school, because very simply, they have to be at work, like Shane in the puppet show. He could not have been in school. It also obliges them to leave school prematurely or require them to attempt to balance school attendance with work life. And of course, after you finish your day at school, you have to go and start to work and work long hours, excessive hours, or heavy work. So you're already exhausted from school, and then you have to go and work a full shift after. The child labor, it basically denies you of your childhood, your right to an education, your right to socialize, your right to recreation, your right to play, and it's harmful to children. So, one thing I want to mention before we go into child labor versus child work, the legal minimum age for employment in Trinidad and Tobago stands at 16 years. So that simply means that any child under the age of 16 should not be working. It's illegal for them to be employed in an economic relationship. They should not be working. They should be in school. This is tied closely to the Education Act, which indicates that children from the age of 5 to 15 should be in school. That's the law. They're supposed to be in school. So therefore, we have the minimum age for employment would be 16. And of course, you're still a child, so it should not be full employment. There are certain conditions that children 16 and over can work. So let's go into child labor versus child work. You can tell me, what is child work? What do you think is child work? We have child labor. What do you think is child work?
I think child work is chores.
Chores, perfect. And do you all think that chores are a good thing or a bad thing?
A good thing.
It's a
It
good
helps us
thing.
build responsibility.
Yeah.
Right. So as we can see on this slide, we have two images. One is of a child with her dad taking off the chores that she would have completed. And one is of a little boy looking probably around, what, 4 years, with a mop and a bucket. Tell me what you get from these two pictures.
The child is happy with what she is doing in the first picture, whilst the boy is forced to do forced to be mopping.
All right, perfect. So doing chores at home is not considered child labor once, and there's a clause here, once it's not hazardous to the child's mental or physical health. And as somebody would have mentioned earlier on, chores teach you responsibility. It prepares you for your life as an adult. It teaches you responsibility, as we mentioned. However, chores can become hazardous for children if they are burdensome, physically and mentally. So if the tasks are too strenuous for children, or if chemicals are being used. So we're looking at the picture with the little boy. Chances are he's using bleach to mop, right? Now, at that age, a child should not be exposed to long-term exposure of bleach. Bleach is a harsh chemical. Even some adults have problems with bleach. So this child, and the mop is obviously bigger than the child, right? That child isn't able to wring that mop out to properly clean. So in this situation, the chore has now become hazardous in the second image for that child. right? And hazardous work is not a situation that children are supposed to be in. Now, while we're defining chores and hazardous work, tell me something. If in the morning before you go to school, let's say those who live down south may have to tie out a goat or throw a half pan of feed for the chickens or, you know, throw some water for the ducks, is that child labor?
No, not exactly. It is doing chores here because you're helping or saving an animal's life.
Perfect. Those are chores. However, if it is that we have a little kitchen garden and I tell you, I say, here what? This Elijah, right? Is it Elijah?
Yes, miss.
All right. I'm just picking, I'm just calling names. So if I say,
Okay.
Elijah, here what? Them tomatoes down the hill have some weeds. We need to spray. Take the spray can and spray it. Is that a chore? Am I putting you in any danger there?
Miss, you could repeat? Sorry.
Okay, so if I tell you, before you go to school or after you come from school, Elijah, go down the hill and spray some tomatoes with the spray can. We have some weedicide in the spray can and we need to spray the tomatoes in the backyard. Is that a chore that I'm asking you to do, or am I asking you to do something that maybe hazardous?
It's hazardous because of the chemicals that you're asking me to use.
So we always have to pay attention to chores that may cross the line into being hazardous. So anytime that chore is burdensome or it puts you in a position where you're exposed to chemicals that you're not supposed to be, it is no longer a chore, it becomes hazardous work. And as child rights ambassadors, and you're out there, those are things that you may be able to pick up on. Right? So we want you to always pay attention to that. So yes, tying out a goat is a chore, feeding the chickens, throwing grass for You need money to purchase food, your basic necessities, food, water. So poverty is a key factor in a cause for child labor. We have external and internal factors. And just to touch on briefly on a few of those factors, we have parental illiteracy. Now, again, back in the days, some of my parents or your grandparents, as the case might be, parents, because they were taken out of school, and it draws back to the point when we talk about children being hard-headed or children can't take books, because they were taken out of school, and that would have been before even completing your primary school level. You find that some of our parents and grandparents were unable to read or write. They're able to count, but they're unable to read or write. And that now meant that the jobs that they were able to access, they were limited. They had to look for jobs, low-skill jobs, jobs that just put food on the table. They couldn't go out there because they didn't have an education to go out there and get a higher paying job. Our adult perceptions, right? Our adults didn't realize that, you know, there was an issue with putting children out to work. We didn't realize that there was a need for proper physical, emotional, and cognitive development of children. Some parents would say, and you'd hear some parents say, well, when I was a child, I did work. It didn't kill me. It makes me stronger, right? Because we had that perception that it's okay, we survived it. So the children could survive it. But
excuse. I'm seeing Miss Nicole Paul's hand is up. Miss Paul, are you there?
Miss Paul?
I'm not sure if she would have gotten, she would have.
Matia and Mandy, they're not seeing me.
Mo, Matia and Mandy, I'm seeing you. They may need to repent. They may need to repent.
Okay. I seem to be frozen on the screen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Check Paula because Miss Paul is frozen on the screen. Okay, so we're gonna get our IT to assess to see if we can get you back up. We may have to stop sharing and restart. Hold on, Paul.
Sorry about that. I did not see me.
I'm seeing you now. Is everyone else seeing Miss Paul signing?
Okay, well now Mandy and Matia are off camera.
Yeah, off camera. Okay,
yep.
Let us see if we can get some technical support. Let me try to pin them back. See, they are unpinned.
Mandy, you see me.
Andy is back up?
Yeah, we're back.
Okay,
Matia
Matia seeing.
Mandy is not moving.
I'm seeing
Mandy is seeing me now. Thank you all so much. I'm really sorry to have to interrupt, but we lost our deaf people.
That's quite okay.
Thank
We're just
you.
happy that you all are reconnected so we can continue. Thank you, Ms. Paul and Mandy and
Thank
Matia.
you so much. Okay, thank you so much.
Paula, back to you.
Okay. So you all are still seeing my screen?
Yes, miss.
Great. All right, so let me see. I was on adult perception, right? One of the causes of child labor, and this was brought up again in the puppet show, where persons prey on the sympathy of customers. So you find that you send a child out to sell chow. Let's say we're on the beach, on Maracas Beach. You have a child selling chow. You have a child selling vegetables on the side of the road. Chances are that if an adult approaches someone on the beach, they may not want to buy the chow. But if you send a child and there's visibly no parent or adult in the vicinity of the child. So the child looks tired. They have these bags of chow or bags of vegetables, and they approach you trying to sell it. The sympathy of the customer, you may just want to give them a sale. You may just want to say, well, all right, you don't have to I don't need it, but I will give you a sale, because you want the child to finish their quota and get off the beach. But that isn't always what happens. The child may finish the quota and then get a second quota to go again. So while we are on the sand playing or sitting on the building a sandcastle or sitting in the water, these children have to keep going and selling, because we know that the persons on the beach would not really want to see them there. And we would buy expecting that, you know, I get them a sale so they'll finish selling what they have to sell and we get them off the beach. But that isn't always what happens. And then another part of the internal or external factors is the failure of laws to protect children back then. Now we have the minimum age for employment. We have the Children Act. We have the Labor Inspectorate. We're doing policies, putting things in place, the steering committee. But back then we didn't have that. So we had everybody saying, oh, it's not a problem. And there were no laws to protect our children. And it wasn't right. So this is what we're trying to fix heading forward. So before we get into effects, right, just to touch on some of the economic shocks or crises, we have, of course, the pandemic. We have our nearest neighbor, Venezuela, with some economic crisis where we find a lot of undocumented migrants, including children, they're coming into the country. The children are not in our school system because of language barriers, because of laws now that it's mandatory that they need to have proper paperwork. But they're here and they still have rights. So the fact that they are migrant children doesn't mean that they don't have the same rights that you have. So as child ambassadors, we want you all to also be, you know, pay attention to that fact. You may see a child working in the grocery and you may hear him rattle off Spanish. That is also a child in a child labor situation. So not because he is a Venezuelan national or she is a Cuban national or a Guyanese national doesn't mean that the law does not apply to them. They're still children. They're still entitled to the rights as any child, and they're still protected by the laws. And then we have supply and demand factors. So some employers have realized that I could save some money by employing some children as opposed to an adult. I could pay you less for the same amount of work, and I don't have to worry about a trade union breathing down my back. So let me give you an example. The minimum wage in Trinidad and Tobago now is $17.50 for 1 hour of work. But if I hire any one of you children and I say, all right, it's vacation, I'm going to pay you $10 an hour and I'm going to work here for 8 hours a day, right? So you are effectively bringing home $80 for working. Think about it. Do you normally get an $80 allowance on a daily basis? You add that up for a week, a normal 40-hour week. Let's say you're working 5 days a week. You're bringing home $400. You normally get a $400 allowance for the week, or you get that for the month, right? So an employer realizes that, hey, I can pay this child $400. If I had to pay an adult to work the same hours for the week, I had to, by law, pay him no less than $700 for that week at $17.50 an hour. So some employers again realize, you know what, I could take advantage of this situation. The children don't know any better because they have more money in their hand than they normally would. And I could get them to do the same amount of work an adult could for less. So more money is in my pocket. Some businesses as well in rural areas may attract the employment of children. And we're talking about like the agriculture sectors, we're talking about farming, we're talking about fishing. So these are sectors where it's a possibility that we may see a higher prevalence of child labor happening, especially with migrant children who are not in school and are able to just get a quick job on a farm, get a quick job in an agricultural setting or in a fishing depot, because it's quick money. So let's talk about some of the effects. The effects of child labor, physical abuse. As children, we always learn to respect our elders. But there are times in in an employment situation where there's verbal abuse, there's physical abuse. Children are under the threat of harm. If you don't do this, I'll hit you. Or if you don't do this, you'll have to do extra work, menial work, or hard work. So there's always that threat of physical and verbal abuse. Mental health issues, that's an effect of child labor. I'm not allowed to develop emotionally. I'm not allowed to socialize because I have to go to work. So although I'm working, I don't know how to socialize. And when I grow up and I become an adult, I've not learned that skill. I only know how to bark at persons or to stand up and in a conflict situation and fight. I don't know how to communicate. I've not socialized my childhood. Those aspects of my childhood have been taken away from me. We're talking about illiteracy. We mentioned it before, where you've been taken out of school, or you've not been able to move on from the primary to the secondary. And yeah, you might be able to count the money, but the reading skills, you kind of lost track of it because you're too busy working. Miss Nicole Paul? Okay, great. I saw you back. I just wanted to make sure that we were still on. All right. Another effect of child labor is that you've lost your childhood. And we talk about your childhood being your simple right to play, your right to socialize, your right to ride a bike, your right to play marble pitch, your right to play a video game. You've lost that. You don't have that opportunity. And then there's malnutrition. You don't have the time to focus on getting a proper meal, a balanced meal. Because as soon as you get up or as soon as you come from school, you're pelled out to go to work. You don't have time to grab a sandwich or eat some bread and butter and you go. And then when you come back, you're too tired. You can't do your schoolwork. You can't eat anything. You just need to sleep because tomorrow is school again. And then you end up with cases of malnutrition children. So we want to touch a bit on the worst forms of child labor. So the worst forms of child labor, first and foremost, are criminal offenses. And these include child sex trafficking, child prostitution, child pornography, child soldering, using children to traffic drugs, any hazardous work or dangerous work. And that is for all children. And remember, we talk about the minimum age for employment. But in the case of worst forms of child labor, there is no exception. Once you're under 18 and you are doing any of these, or you're forced to do any of these things, that's the worst forms of child labor. And these are criminal offenses. No child should be subjected to this type of child labor. Or no child should be subjected to child labor at all. So we're moving again. There are a few exceptions to child labor. So we have some young persons in schools or training institutions for general, vocational, or technical education. So those children who are enrolled in NEST. They may be under 18, that's not considered child labor. They're in an institution that is teaching them a skill, technical education, vocational education. We have young persons 14 years and older in training programs approved by the Ministry of Education. So you have YTEC, you have CERVAL. These are courses that are approved by the Ministry of Education. The children are under 16, but they are part of that. That is an exception. It's not considered as child labor. They're getting their education balanced with working or experience in the fields that they are studying. We have assisting in a family-run business outside of school hours. So let's say mom and dad owns a little mini mart, or your uncle or your grandparents, they own a little grocery, and after school you assist with probably repacking a shelf or cashing. Once it's outside of school hours and it doesn't take away from your time to study, that's acceptable. It's assisting in the family-run business. And then we have working for pocket money during school holidays. So we on July, August vacation. Some people call it summer holidays. We on vacation. And, as children, I might say, I want to buy a new smartphone. And that you might not be able to afford it in this pandemic time, but you're willing and able to go out and do something during the school holidays. It doesn't affect your schooling, but you have to pay attention to what you're doing. And the ministry is working with the steering committee to form what is called a light work list. And basically, yes, you work, but you don't work the normal hours. So the long hours, the excessive being on your feet or hazardous lifting, nothing like that, light work. But yes, it's acceptable to work for pocket money during your school holidays. And this is just an image of children in the programs, the NESC or the Serval, where they're in a classroom setting, learning probably the technical aspects of, I'm not sure what that is, a refrigerator or some sort of equipment. And just a graphic on a family-run business, a little mini mart where the children are helping mom and dad or maybe an uncle and aunt run the business. So, Shane and Priya, or Sheldon and Priya rather, would have spoken about penalties for employing a child below the age of 16. Right? So for the employers, there is a fine of $25,000 and 3 years imprisonment. And for the parents that allows a child to end up in a situation of child labor, there is a fine for the parents of $5,000.
I had a question for some clarity. You can go back to your previous slide, please.
Sure. This one?
Let me see it come up on my screen. It's not there yet. But the 2 points I wanted to clarification on, the assisting family, I think it was, sorry, the slide is not up, but, oh, right, assisting family-run business outside of school hours and working for pocket money during school hours. Is this as well any age or only under the age of 16 or 14? Can you clarify the age for these last 2 points for the exceptions to the rule, please?
Sure. No, there is no legal document that specifies an age in this aspect.
Okay, great.
ILO has they realize that children have been working for pocket money during the school holidays,
right?
And that's why there's no strict age limit, but we always keep in mind that it's illegal to employ a child under 16.
Right.
The family-run business situation, it's just a family, so it's not
Right.
really working for a salary per se. You're assisting,
Right.
but you're assisting outside of the school hours. So yes, in this case, you would see a little girl. So there is no age limit on that. You're assisting in the family-run business by probably cashing or helping restock a shelf, something or the other. And it's not long hours. It's not affecting your education, and it should not affect your right to study.
Okay, great. And the same for the last point as well.
Yes. And this is only during the school holidays. But again, we have to also pay attention to the fact that you cannot be involved in hazardous work.
Yes.
So you can't, even though you're working during the school holidays and it's not affecting your schooling, it cannot be strenuous or hazardous to you. So there are no chemicals, no heavy lifting, no long hours.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome. So what can you guys do as child rights ambassadors? I'm not sure how many of you may have friends in your class or know of persons who may have fallen out of the online class system. Just probably stop logging on. I know the government, the Ministry of Education has indicated that in the last term, there were about 2,000 students who came off this system. So what can we do as child rights ambassadors? And we have a little graphic here to remember the word chips, like fries, chips. So C, check on your friends to ensure that they are right. Make a call, shoot a text, everything okay? H, help by inquiring why your friend is not in class and see if you can assist. Now, it may not be a situation of child labor. It may just be that the device probably spoiled and mommy and daddy don't have the money to get another one at the moment. But help by inquiring, what can, if it means then printing an assignment and giving it to your colleague, your friend, and letting them get the schoolwork or, help in whatever way. But, inquire from them what they need. I, inform an adult. If you've found out that your friend has problems or doesn't attend classes because they're working, then you inform an adult, inspector with the blue car, or any other of the agencies that I will put you on to afterwards. S, no, sorry, I jumped from IEP. Pass on Childline's contact to your friend for child support at 131. Now, 131 is a toll-free number. Childline is accessible 24/7, and it provides counseling, support. You can call Childline and discuss anything if you just want a hearing, if you're scared, if you're angry, if you're hungry. You can call Childline. I'm not saying that they will cook and bring food for you, but somebody is always there to provide any assistance that children need. The number 131 is a toll-free number from your phone. And X, stay in touch with your friend. Make sure that he or she is okay. And if they're not, send a report to the inspectorate, the labor inspectorate unit, and we have some contact numbers there. Actually, our contact numbers, we have other contact numbers. Call Childline, call the child protection unit, call somebody, tell somebody. Right? And just a little tagline, your education is your future. Look out for each other. Right, so as I mentioned, support and protection for our children. So this is a list of our support services, and this presentation will be made available to all of our ambassadors. If you want, and you want to take a screenshot of this particular slide, you can go right ahead. So there are access to welfare grants from the Ministry of Social Development for families who are in poverty situations. There is access to psychological counseling at Childline. Child abuse is reported to the Children's Authority, and the numbers are there. Hazardous work by minors, which are the persons 16 to 18 years, can be reported to the Occupational Safety and Health Authority, and that's a hotline, 60. Reports of employment of children below the age of 16 to us, the labor inspectors. And if you don't remember the numbers, you can contact us on our Facebook page or social media pages, Twitter, Instagram, send us an email, or somebody who may be able to get on to us, inform an adult. And access to student support services from the Ministry of Education, if needed. And of course, child trafficking, if there is a situation of the worst forms of child labor, call to the counter trafficking unit at 800-428. Can I move on from the slide? Anybody want to take a snapshot? Good, we're moving. Right, so contacting us at the Labor Inspectorate Unit, and again, you can take another snapshot of this or access to the presentation. So this is a list of some of our inspectors, not all of us, but some of our inspectors, both in Port of Spain and San Fernando. Those are our cell numbers, and it's our corporate cell, so feel free to call. You can email us at the labor.inspector@gov.tt. You can access the ministry's website, and if you don't remember the website, you can Google Ministry of Labor and it will come up. And again, our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at labor.gov.tt. So, any questions? Was that good? No questions? Going once? Going twice? All right. Did I clear up everything for you all? All right. So we're going into a little trivia, and that will tell me if I was able to clear everything up for you guys. So we have a little trivia competition. I have 4 questions, and I want you all to raise your hand or put it in the chat. I'm going to give you 4 scenarios, and you tell me which one of those scenarios is a scenario of child labor. Right. So question number 1. We have 2 graphics. Mom is lying on the bed, and the child is washing waves. So mom says, I'm so sick. I have to take my children out of school and let them work so they can help me pay the bills. That's scenario A. And scenario B, the child is thinking, I'm helping mom washing the waves because she's just not feeling well. So which one do you think is a child labor scenario? Okay, Alex?
Well, in my view, A is a child labor scenario because the mom is wanting to take her children out of school to go and send them to work in order to pay bills. whilst B is the daughter doing chores for her mother willingly and not forcibly.
Perfect. All right, anyone else? I saw another hand. I was trying to see who that hand was, and it jumped from my screen here. All right, so we're back. All right, so I'm not sure whose hand was up again. But go ahead and give your.
That was my hand, but I agree with everything that Alex said.
Okay, great. So, drum roll, answer to the question. Scenario A. Yay, Alex and everybody else who chose scenario A. So yes, the situation of taking the child out of the school meant that that would have been putting the child in a situation of child labor. All right, so even during a crisis, parents should not allow their children under the age of 16 to work as an adult in order to support the family. Yes, we understand that parents may fall ill, but there, as we mentioned in the previous slide, there are support services for when we cannot do what we have to do. There's the Ministry of Social Development. So there's no excuse for taking our underage children and putting them to work because we can't in an adult situation to support the family. So yay to everyone. I should have done teams, Team A and Team B. All right, trivia question number 2. So we have Shane in the grocery there doing some sweeping, and we have someone watering plants. So scenario A, because of COVID-19, my father's salary got cut. So to help, I had to stop school and go to work in the grocery. And that is the exact situation Shane was in. And scenario B, on weekends, my dad teaches me how to make a home garden. So when I get older, I can take care of myself. So which one is the child labor scenario? I kind of give it away there. So let's hear from Elijah and then Kira.
Scenario A, miss.
Scenario A.
Because the child in scenario A had to stop his school in order to support. So his right to education was deprived. So yeah, child labor.
So this is not a situation of him just helping out in a family business. He has had to stop going to school because his father's salary has been cut. So he's now providing support, like in the first scenario. Right? Child and the child in B, he's watering some plants. Chore or child labor? Let's hear from Kira and then Alex.
Honestly, B is obviously a chore because part was involved in helping to teach them a skill, and whereas in A, he's obviously forced to going to work to pay bills. So it's unfair.
Okay, and Alex?
Yeah, I agree with what Kira said as well. It is a chore because the child is looking like he is enjoying it, and from what he said, he is enjoying it together with his father. So yeah, it would be a chore.
Perfect. So yes, the answer is A. And because of COVID-19, his father's salary getting cut is not an excuse to take a child out of school to work to support that family. That's not the responsibility of the child. But as in scenario B, helping to prepare a child to do like the chores, to accept responsibility, to build character, once it doesn't hamper the child's schooling or his childhood, is not considered as child labor. So yay! Let's move on to question number 3.
Paula, for number 3, can we ask Mandy and or Mattia to respond so we can incorporate them in the trivia activity as well?
Sure. So we
right,
let both
Letitia,
Mandy and
for
Mattia.
this one, we would ask Mandy and Mattia.
Okay,
to
fine.
respond, right?
Sure.
Okay.
So scenario B, I feed my pet goat Billy before and after school every week. Sorry, scenario A. And scenario B, on my uncle's farm, My job is to tote the animals' food and water to their stables and take them for a walk every day. Right. So we'll give Mandy and Mattia the opportunity to tell us, is it A or B?
So Mandy said A. Both of them said A.
Did they say why?
She's saying, and Mattia is saying in A, it seems like something that would be fun versus B. I'm gonna ask Mandy now. Oh, she just said she agreed with Mattia.
She agrees. And that is so true. So yes, scenario A is the goat is a pet. Even name him Billy. So it's something that he enjoys. Yes, it's before and after school every day, but it doesn't interfere with his childhood. It doesn't interfere with his schooling, and it's something that he enjoys doing. As opposed to B, where you're toting animal feed, which is heavy, and you're toting water to these stables, and you have to take them for a walk every day. It means then that, you know, a lot of your time is taken up doing this. You're probably not in school. I saw Alex. Alex, you had a comment? Your hand was up? Alex and Kira?
Miss, I was going to have a question, but you answered it just now when you was explaining. Because I was about to ask, what about if the child is actually like saving the animal's life? No, from if the uncle is not like a very stable mental person and doesn't feed the animals and stuff, and he has to make it his job to go and feed the animals and carry it for walk and stuff.
And that is important to note. He took it upon himself. But then, in this scenario, he has to tote the feed and tote the water, which is heavy. Feed is heavy. A bucket of water is heavy. So you're putting the child at risk there because he's doing heavy lifting. He can get damaged. And then after he feeds them and sees about them in his stable, he has to take them for a walk every day. So it's not one animal. It's animals in a stable. Will he get, and one of the things to notice that he's not going to get the time to focus on his studies or his education if he's doing all of this. So even if he does try to do that and balance it, the time for study is going to get smaller and smaller because he's tired. When you're lifting that water and you're doing this every day and you're taking the animals for long walks, you come back tired. You don't have time to study. Or you don't have time to get up early to go to school. Or you're in school and your head on the desk and you're back in, you know, dozing off. And the teacher's asking, what is going on with you? All right, so it's a situation there where it's not just about saving the animal's life, but in what he's doing or what he's required to do on his uncle's farm, puts him in a situation where he's doing hazardous work. Right?
Okay, miss.
And then we say, all right, in danger, when we put children's physical health in danger, it's classified as child labor and that's it. And our final question. Somebody was saying something?
Yeah, I think it wouldn't even classify as child work or chores because I think a childhood, I think that is very, very important. As long as as long as I've been alive, I've always had a pet. So it's a childhood. I really sure. I don't know, it brings joy to your family, so I really don't think it's a chore. It's just a pet.
You kind of broke up there, so I'm not sure. Was it a comment you're making, or you were asking about the difference between child labor and child?
No, I was just saying that I think a pet is a part of the family, so I wouldn't really say that as a chore, but rather a family member. I think I wouldn't even classify it as child work. It's just really family as a pet. Okay. That's what I was trying to say.
Oh. And our final trivia question for the win. So we have scenario A. Young boy on the street selling flowers. I sell these for myself on the street every day to help daddy buy food for us to eat. And scenario B, I learn to count money when I go to grandpa's parlor on weekends. So which one is a child labor scenario? Which one is it? Azariel, am I pronouncing that right?
Yes, I correct the second time, Azariel. I would say A would be the example of child labor because he has to help his father buy food for them to eat, where it should be the father's responsibility. Whereas B, the child is doing something in his free time to help his grandfather.
And one of the things you have to pay attention to, children selling on the street. No, it's not something that we see often, but you put a child in a situation where they're on the street. Somebody could run into them, an accident. Children can be kidnapped, trafficked. There's so many different hazards for that child being on the street alone. Selling, yes, and I mentioned it in terms of the sympathy from the customers. You might quicker buy a bunch of flowers from a child and say, well, okay, if we all buy and you know he sells his quota, he'll come off the streets. Chances are when he goes back there, he has another batch to sell. That is putting him in danger. He's out on the streets, he's out in the elements. Anything can happen to him. So yes, that is the child labor scenario as opposed to B, where at grandpa's parlor, I'm learning to count money, you know, I'm helping out. I am learning a skill. I'm learning responsibility. It's something that builds my character when I become older. Right, so what we have here now are just some images of child labor and hazardous work. And I just wanted to get some feedback from you all as to what you think about these photos. What do these photos speak to you? What do they tell you when you see them? So we have two scenarios. There's a child with I assume it's a metal lathe, drilling a piece of metal. And then we have a child who is shoveling sand in a pit. So tell me. Anybody? All right, Alex, answers.
Miss, both scenario makes me it's how you feel, right? It's making you how you feel. It makes me feel saddened because we take life differently. We want everything every day, and to know that it have other children out there who is being forced to make metal blades. Like for example, this child in the first picture have to be making metal blades and using a drill, and that could be very dangerous. He could simply make a mistake and damage his hand. The next picture, these two young boys mixing what it seems to be concrete. They could simply get exhausted and they are losing out what is childhood and losing out what is the love of school and education. And it really shows how we take advantage of everything that we have today to ask for, I want this and I want that, when we should take into consideration how other children just have to be forced to get these things, and they have to be forced out of their way to make it their possibility to get it.
Beautiful answer, Alex. I saw Mandy's hand up. Mandy wanted to make a comment.
Letitia Mandy has a question or a comment.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was talking and my mic was off.
Oh.
Mandy, oh my, sorry, Mandy. You can sign it again, please. Sorry. Yeah, so these two boys in the picture, you know, I noticed that they are working really hard. It's really hard labor. And you can see that they are suffering and they could be overworked and tired. And they don't have the opportunity to go to school or to interact with their friends. They can't do anything fun because they're there working. It's really sad. It's a really sad situation.
Thank you, Mandy. And one of the things I want you to pay close attention to, there's no protective gear. So in both these scenarios, these children are susceptible to harm. There's metal fillings from the drill that he's using that could fly into your eye and cause injury. Something can slip. The child there's no protective gear, there's no gloves, he's dealing with metal. The one who is shoveling is bareback, probably, and barefoot, in fact. And they're standing in a sand pit. We don't know what's in the sand, could be a broken piece of glass. They're shoveling sand. Shoveling on the hole is strenuous, and this child they're not in a safe situation. Have a young man spraying something in the garden, and we have 2 young men mixing concrete. And we'll take one comment on this picture because we've on limited time and we have a few other pictures still to do. Anybody want to comment? One quick comment? No hands up? Yes, the name Azariel, sorry.
Yeah. I think both of these situations are very dangerous because a child should never be working with chemicals. Because I see that he has this thing on his back, spraying pesticides, I would say. But no child should be dealing with something like that. That could affect their health really badly. And on this side, on the right-hand side, my right, this situation where they're mixing cement, this is very much child labor. Like they're being overworked, they're tired, they could lose out on their education, their childhood, like time they will be putting into studying or reading a book, they will be doing something like this. And again, here they don't have anything to protect them. They don't have shoes, they don't have any coats or anything, and cement is something that sticks to your skin and it could cause a lot of harmful effects.
Exactly. And not only that, look at the angle they bent over. That is strenuous work. That could cause some serious injuries to the spine. All right, so we have another scenario here. Young man on the beach cleaning and selling fish. And for those of us who passed at West Mall, you see these young men. As soon as you stop by the lights, they're pulling they're coming to clean your glass for the cleaners. What do you guys? Hands, any comments? Elijah? Go ahead, Elijah.
Miss, the one on the left looks like child labor to me because he has a knife which can be deadly if not used properly. Yeah, the fish could attract insects. You could get diseases from that. But on the right hand side, the people who are doing that, they don't look like children to me. They look quite over 18, but I might be wrong. But the difference will be if they are under 18 or not. But to me, they look quite over 18. But if they're under 18, it's definitely child labor because they're on the road. Anything happen, accidents. Yeah. So that's my comment.
Okay, great. So I would like to thank you all for interacting. I know that this was supposed to run from 3 to 4 and we way over 4. And Jody has already given me some looks. So let me hand you all back over to Jody so she can do the wrap up. And again, thank you for your attention. Thank you for your interaction. I trust that this session was able to give you all something to take away with respect to child labor. Again, you are a beautiful audience. Thank you.
Thank you for a very insightful presentation, Ms. Achaiba, and I'm sure the children will agree that all the child rights ambassadors will agree that they learned a lot today. Yes? What you all think about session number 2? Are you all up for round 2? Yes, I agree with that. Okay. Great. Well, that sounds like we're gonna make it happen, right? So I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us this afternoon. We were carded to end at 4, but we had so much to share, and you all were so engaged in this topic of child labor. We ran over, and you all still seem to want to find out more. But what I can tell you all, July, August vacation is here, and we have a lot of activities on our ministry's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. You all can run over to our pages and check out what we have. You would have seen the puppet show, part of the puppet show today. We also have a virtual art showcase and other activities, and we will be launching an e-activity pack on child labor where you would actually get some of these nice trivia activities to get you thinking, and you will be able to probably answer better than everybody else, seeing that you all got this session. But what I invite you all to do is at the end of this session or from tomorrow, check out our pages, follow us, and interact with us online. Yeah, and more importantly, we want you all to be the eyes and the ears on the ground in your schools, in your communities, everything that you all would have learned here this afternoon. The reason why we are sharing is so that you all can be empowered to know what child labor is and do something about it. We're not just going to turn a blind eye. If we see a cousin, if we see a classmate, it doesn't have to be a friend. Just think about having a child working is not fair, it's not right, and you all can do something about it. And we would share the presentation where you would have our labor inspectors' numbers. You all are getting direct access to our labor inspectors. You don't have to go through the landline. You have their cell numbers. You can call them up and say, I saw a child on the street working. I want to help this child get back into school and whatnot. So I would encourage you all to look out for the presentation. We'll be issuing e-certificates as well. Thank you to everyone who joined us, Miss Nicole Paul and Letitia, who would have been signing for this entire session. You all were so excellent, Mandy and Mattia. Miss Stanley, Miss Bertrand Moses, our chair, our labor inspectors. Paula, you were brilliant. Everyone who made today possible, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we hope to see you all again pretty soon. We will coordinate Miss Stanley and Mr. Moses. Thank you so much, child rights ambassadors. Let me just take a quick snapshot if we can get everyone to turn on their cameras before we get cut off. 3, 2, 1. Okay, let me just take another one. 3, 2, 1. Smiling faces. All right, so hope to see you all soon.
And I just want to say before we leave, thank you so much to the Ministry of Labor for hosting this. Thank you so much for DPS, Keva Williams, and for Jody and Miss Paula. Thank you so much for having us and doing this training for us. We really wanted to keep our child rights ambassadors engaged this year and learning new things. I learned new things too, so I'm really grateful, and I hope everyone else enjoyed it. I thought it was quite informative, and it was engaging as well. So keep up the great work, Ministry of Labor. Thank you so much for making it such an easy process to organize this, and you all did everything and organized everything, and we were very well organized. So thank you. And child rights ambassadors, I hope you all are doing well. Nice to see your faces, and we'll stay tuned for another training coming up hopefully soon. So thank you so much for still checking your emails and still engaging with us. And please keep checking because there's another training we want to do coming up. All right, so thanks again. And I hope you all are keeping safe. May God bless you all and take care of yourselves. And thank you, Miss Paul and Miss Cupid, I think her name was, yes, for doing the signing, the interpreting. Streets, Miss Streets. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we're happy to be here. It's one of the things we look forward to. It's wonderful.
Awesome. So y'all can send some clapping hands and some thumbs up and make some noise. Take off your mics. And I see everyone is getting to see the other child rights ambassadors earlier. You all would have said that you don't know each other. So we hope that these fora would introduce you guys and we will be able to build relations and spread the word to Trinidad and Tobago about child labor and the rights of children. Yeah? So thank you so much. Continue to be amazing and as awesome as you guys are. I wish you all the best in your studies. I know some of you all still have exams. Put your best foot forward and you all will be successful. Yes? And we will fly the flag of Trinidad and Tobago very high. Yes? Thank you, everyone. See you soon.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.